Okay, welcome back. Let's talk blades because that's what we're into. Now, this is going to be kind of new for me. Um, Now, there's a lot of ways that people do this, and this is just kind of my way of how I do it. This isn't, in any type of order that's. This is just how the way that I do it. So, this video is kind of dedicated to my pops, my dad. He has his own collection as well of knives that have been kind of gained over the years through, my mom and I and others. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this video is going to be my first cleaning video that I'm going to be doing for my dad's knife. Now, the three that I have in front of you right now are not my dad's. As a matter of fact, the three that are in front of you right now are actually my knives. And one of them is actually older than the two. The one in the middle is actually older than the two on the sides. I'm not entirely sure where I got this guy from, but as everybody knows, I am a huge fan of knives. Always have been, always will be. And yes, that goes for small little multi-tool or small little knives like these. I think I got this around about Christmas time, maybe I want to say about like 6 or 7 years back. I was about to say 5, but I know it was longer than that. This came in a pack. There was another Winchester knife that I had, but it broke, and I tried to fix it, and it broke again. And it came with this free little kind of dual knife thing. Wooden handle scales, really nothing out of the ordinary. I'm pretty sure this is like a 440 stainless, 440C. I kept this obviously because this is the one that didn't break of the set, and it came in like this metal tin. It said Winchester, and this was with it, along with another bigger size knife that had also wooden scales on it. The wooden scales broke off. I tried putting them back on. I tried gluing them, and then they cracked. And then one of the bolsters came off. And I tried to replace that, and then the blade eventually broke off. It actually broke where the pivot was, so there was no way that I could fix it. It snapped. I don't get it. It was really, I don't know, it was really sad because I couldn't save the knife no matter how hard I tried, and it broke several times. But it was a Christmas present. It was kind of like a stocking stuffer from a friend of the family way back when I went to go visit them for Christmas. And this was the only thing that was surviving from that little Winchester double pack. So there's that. And then this one I just bought recently from Lowe's because I'm a fan of buck knives. I haven't done any reviews on them yet, but I'm going to. I also have a lot of buck knives. I really, really like buck. It's a true American knife. And you know what? Yeah, I did do a review. I did a review on one of the buck knives. The more recent one, the lightweight, now that I think about it. But I haven't done any of the original bucks, and I want to do that. So this one I kind of really liked. I've always seen it, never had the chance to pick it up. I was at Lowe's and they had this over there, and it was like under $15, so I went ahead and purchased it. Wooden handle scales, pin construction. It's got the brass little bolster scale type things on there, and it is a slip joint just as much as this one is a slip joint. The steel on this knife, the model number is 379, and it's got the little, if you know what the symbols are next to the numbers, those are the years that these are made. So whatever that little thing is, like a half box with a dot in the middle, that's actually a symbol for one of the years. You can actually look it up on the Buck website, and it's on every Buck model, and it's actually really neat when you look it up. China. American made. China. Still cool. I mean, it's still cool to have a little knife like that. And then last but not least, my oldest knife that I have. This is actual horn on this blade, or on this handle. It is a brass pin construction in the middle. also it has two blades on there, and silver bolsters. And this I actually found in one of my friend's garages back when I was in high school, and we were helping him move out of the house, and he didn't have anything to give me as a goodbye present, and I told him he didn't have to give me anything. But when we were cleaning out his garage, this was kind of on the ground underneath where his washer and dryer was in his garage, and it was covered in cobwebs and whatever dirt and mouse poop. It was just all the way in the corner of the house, forgotten. And we were sweeping up the garage trying to clean it up, and I picked this up and I looked at it and I was like, hey man, this is a knife. And he looked at me and he's like, oh, well, look at that. And he's like, well, keep it. And I was kind of laughing, and I was like, well, is that okay? I mean, this might be your dad's or something. And he talked to his dad, talked to his mom, his sister. His brother didn't live there anymore, and they all said that it wasn't theirs. And the dad was like, just, if you want it, take it, otherwise it's just going to be thrown away with whatever garbage was swept up. And I looked at him and I was like, can I have it? And he goes, yeah, take it. I don't, what am I going to, you heard my dad, he was going to throw it away. So this is real, and it is, believe it or not, it is a K-bar. K-bar 1018 USA. And I haven't really cleaned it up since then. I actually chose not to, because of the fact that whatever this knife was used for, I went ahead and decided to just keep it as is. Kind of gives it some character, and it looks like the blade has been burnt a few times because of the darkening on the blade. I can tell by the lighter color down here that this blade was all satin, and it feels, because I can feel the carbon still on the blade, I can feel that there's a layer of carbon still on the blade on both of them. And I can tell that this was heated up. Don't know why or for what. It could have been used for whatever, I really don't know. I did very minor cleaning to this, but I still kept it. Obviously, I like knives, so I kept it and kept it in collection. And yes, this is also a slip joint, but the joints, the locking joints on this are very weak. So I can tell this is a very old. It was used a lot, and whoever used it lost it and didn't care about it, neglected it, and they even told me they were just going to throw it away. So this was just one of those things that I kept kind of as a memento when my buddy moved out. He and I were really good friends, and this is what I remember him by. We shared a lot of the humor together, and so this is just one of those good memories. So those are my three. Now I'd like to show you guys my father's version of all those three knives, but it's actually, he says it's pretty old. Now, I don't really remember what he said. I think he said it was older than him, or it might have been it was older than me. I don't remember, but it was really cool that he handed it to me, and here it is. It has real horn, and from what I think, and I don't quote me on this, but those might be real silver pins that are in there. I tried looking up this knife brand, the Tree brand. I tried looking it up, and they do have some older knife models. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that this is something that you can't find. It's just too ancient. I don't think that that's what that is. But I really do believe that this knife is really old. This is real horn. It is. Whatever it is, bone or horn, I think it's horn. So it's very much like this bad boy right here. And I think it's really cool that my dad handed this to me. He said, go ahead and clean this up. I'd like to see you clean it up. So it's an honor for me to clean this up for my dad. I love my dad. He's a good guy. And I would really love to just clean it up. And so I decided to go ahead and do that for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up on a video for you guys. And of course, everyone has their different ways of doing it, but this is just the way that I was taught. So you guys go ahead and sit back and watch me clean this blade. And the reason why I want to clean it, because my dad told me to go ahead and do it. It's rusted. You can tell it's rusted. My dad uses it for art. I can tell by the paint that's on here and by the marker stains. But he uses his knives for what he uses them for, and it's just, you know, it needs a little bit of TLC. So you can see there's a lot of rust and what looks like pitting in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best to remove that the best I can, and without damaging the handle and its prettiness. So why not, right? Why not? So I'm gonna go ahead and move these off camera for the moment, so that way I don't get these damaged. So I just wanted to show you guys my variation of what my dad has. I have other small knives too, but they're not like that, like those I came across, and you know, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. I have a whole cleaning kit. I'm just gonna do like a very, very minor cleaning. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy or out of the world, but like I said, I'm just gonna do what I know, what I was taught back when I used to work at a knife store. So if you guys want to, you can sit back and watch me do my thing. Of course, I'll also do like a little, you know, I'll tell you guys a story or two about a couple of knives and events that have come to pass, just so you guys aren't too bored just watching me clean this knife. It's actually really cool. It's very, very similar. This knife, this edge on this knife right here, I still feel it. There's still an edge here, and there's still an edge here, but as far as up to right around here, it's pretty dull. Right here, it's still a little bit sharp. I can still feel it. But as you can tell, it just needs a little bit of love. So why not? So I'm going to do, you know, like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit of minor cleaning on this and get off some of that stuff. Now what I'm using is what's called a rust eraser. And what it does is it helps clean off a lot of the rust on the blade and kind of bring it back to its original kind of shine. So a long time ago, I used to work at a sword store in the local mall, and I really liked working there. And I was working around people that pretty much enjoyed my company, and I enjoyed theirs. And then I started working a little bit of Renaissance Fair, and in Renaissance Fair I didn't get really paid very much. The going rate, I think, all depended on the people you were with, because certain groups didn't really pay little to nothing at all, and then sometimes if you're selling things, then that might actually help contribute. Oh, that's shaking the camera. But I've learned a lot about knives and blades and swords and stuff, you know, medieval stuff, and I really found that stuff really, really cool. When I was a kid, I watched this movie, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's called Highlander. And in that movie, they use swords and stuff, and it was kind of like one of those movies where it was just cheesy, but it was entertaining to watch. And I kind of always wanted a sword. I always thought that blades were really cool. Don't know why. Have no idea. This one lady at a Renaissance Fair, I guess she was a type of like oracle or something. She was a seer or something like that, and she was telling me a story that, you know, whatever you're interested in now must have come from your past life. I always thought that was a little creepy and weird, but who knows? Maybe I do remember something from my past life, and maybe I'm just taking it on to this one, and I've always kind of had a liking for swords. Who knows? but kind of blossomed from there. And then I saw an opportunity to work at a local sword store and knife store, excuse me, in a local mall, and I took advantage of it, and I got into it, and I learned so much just cleaning, restoring. Now what I'm doing isn't the best way to clean, but for something this small and delicate, you want to try and not go overboard with cleaning unless you know what you're doing. This is, like I said, this is just what I know and what I was taught. And I very, very much appreciate my dad and everything that he does. So it's the least I can do. I don't normally do this kind of thing on video, but I want to try to do something different so that way you guys have other content to watch. Because why the heck not, you know? So right now I just removed a decent portion of rust, and you can see that the blade is at its original shine, which is good. But it's also a little bit bad because now the tree brand, you can barely see it on the blade, has also removed just a little bit. But I mean, I got rid of the rust. So, but you can still see tree brand logo here on the handle. So it's not a complete loss. See, look at that. You can see the difference. Nice and clean, and bam, all dirty on the other side. So you just go onward. So I learn a lot of things about knives. I'm still learning new things every day. I look up stuff. I watch more YouTube videos, other YouTubers that do and what they do and what they know, and I learn from them as well. And in the community, you just do your best to learn what you can, especially with like knife laws and other things out there. It's always good to know what you're able to do, what you're able to not, what you're not supposed to be doing, what you're capable of carrying, obviously what you're not supposed to be carrying, legalities and such. And if you're inclined enough to be friends with law enforcement, that's even better. And I do have a few friends in law enforcement, a couple of which are actually watching what I do. They're supporters of the channel, and I can say that they work law enforcement. Excuse me, I'm going to take off my ring here because I think I'm getting rust eraser all over it. And I've learned a lot of stuff from them. So I can tell you that there's so much that you can learn just about knives alone. And they're good for tools, they're good for self-defense, and the stories that I've heard from law enforcement are them using knives in self-defense where they really didn't want to, but of course, they could have used other things. They could have used their mace. They could have used their taser. And they decided to use a knife instead. So there was one time a police officer was talking to me about, I'm not going to state his name or anything for obvious reasons, but he's a good man. He's a family man, and I've known him for a few years. And I can say that he is one of my good friends. He told me a story where he had to pull a knife as his weapon. And he did so because his firearm wasn't on him. He wasn't on duty, but he usually normally carries a firearm on him. And he carries a firearm and a badge on him at all times. He once told me, once you're a cop, you're always a cop. Every day, it doesn't matter if you're on the clock or not. When you're a cop, you're a cop in and outside of work. Because if somebody recognizes you and they really wanted to harm you, they could. And I always thought that that was a little bit weird and a little untrue, but the more that I've talked to people, the more that I realize that being a cop is quite dangerous and you're taking a risk every single day, even off the clock. You know, whether you're with your family or friends, that sort of thing it's dangerous. It's a dangerous profession. And I was about to be a cop after high school. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into law enforcement, but things didn't work out. I just decided that it wasn't for me. I'll always have a soft spot. You know, I'm going to say this right now, there aren't good people in every aspect of life. There's good and bad people in every aspect of life. There's good cops and bad cops. And he even told me that there's a couple of crooked people in law enforcement when he was transferred to another department in another city. He told me about a cop that a fellow police officer that wasn't too kind, and he was looking for trouble. He was out there looking for people to arrest, looking for reasons to give tickets, pull over people. Of course, this was years ago, so this was before badge cams were a thing. And he always told me, you know, whatever you do it with heart, and you do the very best you can by making the best decisions you should. You know, and by that, you should always be courteous and kind and understanding, because at the end of the day, we're all human, we're all people. But anyways, I trailed off. Sorry about that. I digress. Look at that. Huge difference, right? Just the rust eraser. I'm gonna douse it in some cleaning substances here after I'm done taking off all the rust. Keep it nice and protected. But he had to pull a knife because his service pistol was not on him this time around. And I don't know why he didn't carry his service pistol. He didn't tell me if he just forgot it at home or just decided he didn't want to, or if he was out on a jog. I don't know. He didn't tell me. But what he did say was, I had a cold steel knife on me. He didn't tell me what kind. He just said a cold steel knife. He was like, Ron, I've never, ever had to pull a weapon like this. And I was like, well, you're a police officer. You would pull a gun, right? And he's like, yeah, but that's different. You know, when you're on the clock, you have a different mindset than when you're off the clock. And I'm like, well, shouldn't you have the same mindset every day, regardless? And he goes, you should. He goes, but, you know, you're only human, and when you're off the clock, you're going to have a slightly different mindset, kind of a calmer aesthetic about you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. You know, it's your off day. You don't expect there to be any danger on your off day. But, you know, that's just stupid, because danger comes to anybody at any time. Doesn't matter. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, man, I pulled out my knife. And I was like, what happened? And he goes, I was jogging. It was early in the morning. And I was like, wait a minute. And now you're being confusing. And then he goes, well, you know, you don't really jog with your firearm on you. And I was like, oh, all right. And then I don't know where I'm going with the story. I'm sorry. I'm being really confusing right now. Just trying to get these dots out of there. But he was telling me that he had to pull a knife. And oh, come on. Why isn't it coming out? I mean, it's not too bad. It's looking way better now. Anyways, the police officer had to pull a knife. He had to use it and protected himself with it. And normally he said he keeps a firearm on him wherever he's at, and he's never had to ever use a knife to defend himself. But he did, and he wasn't too proud of it, and it didn't go like too bad. It wasn't like, scary movie type situation. It was more of just him being him and using his better judgment. And he told me that he's like, I've never had to pull a knife. And he's like, I'm more comfortable pulling a gun than a knife, but I just didn't have my service pistol with me. And I was like, all right, well, that makes sense. There's more to it than this, but I've been really concentrating on trying to clean this up. Sorry about that. I'm kind of all over the place. One moment I'm saying one thing, the next moment it doesn't make really any sense. So forgive me. And I'm sure people are like, oh, have you ever had to pull a knife on anybody? No. I'm just going to say that flat out, no. I hope and pray that I never have to. You have to be really responsible about what you do and what you carry. What is that Spider-Man saying? With great responsibility? No, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm not saying that a knife is going to give you great power, but I'm just telling you that you just got to be really mindful. If you know, especially if you know what you're doing and you know what you have on you, it's probably just a really, really good idea to use common sense. And if you can get out of a situation, then get out of a situation. And do so without harming anybody, without leaving in cuffs. No one wants to be in cuffs. I've seen so many fights where dumb kids do some dumb stuff and they get arrested, and it's like, oh yeah, well, what was that all for? You decided to go ahead and deck a dude in open public in front of a bar, right in front of a cop. Yeah, you're gonna get arrested because that's technically assault. And then on top of that, you try running away. Why? I know you're intoxicated, but dumbest thing you could do is try running away. But hey, you're intoxicated. It's understandable. But I can tell you that I've used to walk streets late at night, and as I do, I used to carry a lot of knives. I'll carry like 6 knives on me. I was really paranoid. I was also a kid at the time, and I didn't really think too much about my consequences. I was just like, oh, I'm going to carry this one here, this one there, throw this one in my back pocket, have this one in my boot, and I'm good. And there was times when I would walk past a group of sketchy people and they're just calling out to me, hey, and at that point you're like, well, you just do your best to ignore them, or me no speak English. You just do your best to try and avoid them. That's all you can do. As you're clutching pepper spray or mace or your taser or your knife in your pocket, because that's all you really have to give you the confidence just to get out of that situation. And why not? Why not? Okay. So there's that. Looks better. It's cleaner. And my storytelling is not... seems stupider. Now that I think about the story that I was trying to tell about the cop, it just seems like it didn't really make too much sense. Sorry about that. I do remember the story, I just don't know how to place the details and write. I think he told it way better. He did. He told it way better now that I think about it. But I was in the Police Explorers program as my senior project in high school, and I met and made a lot of friends. Some of which who I'm still friends with today, who have told me crazy story that were knife related. And one of them told me this is a really cool thing to remember. It's not really cool, but it's something that you should know. Anytime you carry a knife or whatever you carry to use as self-defense, and you use it, be prepared to lose it, because it is going to be confiscated and you're about 80% likely not to get that item back. At least that's what I've been told anyways. I could be wrong. But my law enforcement buddy told me if you carry it and you use it, be prepared to lose it, because it will be taken away from you. And for good reason, obviously, because if you used it in a crime or in a self-defense matter, it is going to be held against you as evidence, and more than likely you might not get the item back depending on certain circumstances. So I thought that was something that kind of stuck with me throughout the years. I've always remembered that saying because it is very important. You have to take responsibility for what you do, and that includes the things that you do with the item that you have, whether it's a broken piece of glass, pipe, a brick, a folding knife, a gun, anything and everything. So just be really careful about what you do and what decisions you make, because they will affect you. So I always say, yeah, it's great to carry this, yeah, you should carry that, or yeah, that's better for self-defense or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's your choice on what you want to do and what you want to carry and how you want to go about doing things. But your decisions are of your own. Just remember that. Just remember it. Ow. Oh, did I cut myself? Oh, I did. I just took off a piece of skin. I'm alright. I cut myself with my dad's tool. You imagine the look on his face? I can right now. He's probably just putting his hand in his face and shaking his head. It's probably what he's doing right now.